Hello, beautiful people. How's everyone? Happy Saturday. I'm coming on air to share a few ideas, few insights that came to me. I've been watching some videos today, and there seems to be a common theme that seems to be coming up for me anyway, which I would like to share. And today we are actually having Mars in the sign of Cancer, making a sextile to Uranus, currently in a sign of Taurus, and it's been there for a while, and it will be there for another few years. So just a few days ago, we experienced Mars squaring Chiron. Chiron, being in Aries, is actually ruled by Mars, and this was telling us about this tension of not necessarily being who we want to be and going where we want to go and following what we want to follow, because there is this wounding, right? And now Mars is making this sextile to Uranus, and Uranus has been in Taurus to break us out of our comfort zone, out of our complacency. And, it's kind of flipping things on its head, in regards to our values and our relationships. And it's just making a little bit of a havoc and kind of like a storm. And then we'll see what's going to be out of it when it all settles, like what kind of new ideas we will have. And at the same time, at the moment, we have the Sun through the sign of Taurus, Mercury transiting through the sign of Taurus, currently in retrograde. And all these are making positive aspects to Saturn in Pisces. So this is a lot of flexible energy communicating amongst each other, like making these supportive aspects, because Taurus is very fixed, is very stubborn, it just doesn't want to let go. Also, the upcoming lunar eclipse will be in Scorpio. The same thing, Scorpio is a fixed sign. It's very difficult for it to let it go because it wants to attach, to think very deeply. It makes deep connection, and then it's very hard for it to just let it go and detox. That's why detox is so uncomfortable. It's so hard. It's kind of a Scorpionic thing. So what is coming up for me is this need for flexibility and fluidity, because there are already energies in a mutable sign. Pisces, we have Saturn and Neptune. These are mutable energies. Saturn is going through the process of dissolving these things, these structures that no longer serve us. Neptune has been for a few years. It will also remain there for a few more years, and is dissolving everything that no longer holds a meaning for us, closing all cycles. Now currently Venus, the ruler of everybody currently being housed in a sign of Taurus, she's the ruler of Taurus. So she's at the moment in Gemini. So again, that's a flexibility. Like there are a lot of options, a lot of different ways we can look at things. And like I said, currently we have Mars in a sign of Cancer. Cancer is ruled by Moon. Moon is the most flexible one, because it keeps changing signs every 2.5 days. And today, actually, just before this aspect, before Mars made the exact sextile to Uranus, Moon moved into the sign of Virgo, which is again about flexibility. It's about healing. It's about learn and readjust, like based of the new information we are gathering. Mercury is also ruler of Virgo, so we are gathering this new information by having this internal process going on with the retrograde, and that is inviting us to make some readjustments in our life that helps us towards this healing process, also healing our Chiron, and then that supports us towards our liberation, because Uranus is currently being the ruler of Pluto. Pluto is still in a sign of Aquarius, just about. And another thing is that Pluto will start its retrograde on Monday, on the 1st of May. It will start retrograde at the same time as Sun will conjunct Mercury. So again, there will be a highlight of a theme, Mercury, this flexibility, this duality, polarity, currently going in retrograde, which is all about our internal world, our reconnection with ourselves and our sensory experience. And that will be all highlighted. And at the same time, Pluto will station to go retrograde. Actually, Pluto has been on this 00 degrees and 22 minutes since 27th of April. So Pluto is not moving anymore. It's just literally holding tight onto this spot. And this is where it will station to go retrograde. But it will remain in the same spot until the 6th. It will not move into the 0021 minutes until the 7th. So even during our next eclipse, Pluto will be holding on tight in the same spot as it's been since April 27th. So again, Pluto is being stationed to give us this opportunity to to hold us, like to stop in our tracks and draw in a breath and just think for a minute, or even better, don't think, just feel, how does this feel, how does this my current situation feel, because we can get so attached to what we are experiencing and this perfect definition of how we think things should be. Like, yes, I constantly keep saying about how important it is for us to recognize what we want and who we are, and what we want to go after. But then it's still very important to remain flexible, because sometimes the things that we think we want might not be exactly the right thing for us. And sometimes by the process of getting there, we might realize that, okay, well, there are other things that actually work better for us or something. So that's why I just feel this energy, to me, is inviting this flexibility and fluidity, more flexibility and fluidity into our life. And also, like next month, everything's gonna move into Gemini. Obviously Venus is already there. She will be moving into Leo shortly. But there will be Sun moving into Gemini, and Mercury will be moving into Gemini. Well, Mercury will be moving into Gemini a little bit later because of its retrograde. But still, this is again the opportunity for the flexibility, for accepting that there is not just one way to get where we want to go. And sometimes, these ways around are actually maybe what we need more, and everything serves its purpose. Everything is a learning curve. So it's again about how we look at the situation, because in every experience there is a learning, there is a teaching, there is opportunity for growth. So like, not to get too much in all these different directions, but to me, because Uranus is the ruler of Pluto, which is just about to go retrograde. It's literally in the same place already. It's stationed, well, it's not stationed, but it's holding tight in the same place. And Uranus is about this breaking the status quo. It's about breaking this structure and this foundation, this prison that we created for ourselves, where we might feel stuck and we might be feeling unable to actually live any other life than to the one that we already have. And Pluto in Aquarius is giving us the flavor of the upcoming 20 years of the transit Pluto in the sign of Aquarius that will, fully begin next year and last until 2044. And that will be the process of individuation, liberation, to truly step into your authenticity and to become your own authority and create your own rules and actually take responsibility for the fact that you are creator and manifester of your reality. And this was just like a little preview, like, I'm sure that during this period, since Pluto has been in a sign of Aquarius, which was March, we more started, like majority of people, at least people I've spoken to, are starting to feel this pressure, this desire to break free, which, they might even not understand where it's coming from. But that's because Uranus is ruling Pluto, being in Aquarius, and Uranus is in Taurus. So it's completely, like, as I said, it's flipping everything that is considered as stable in our life. It's flipping it on its head, and suddenly it's showing us that, are you sure that this is such a solid thing? And also with Saturn currently being in Pisces is doing the same thing. Actually, they are not exactly in a sextile yet, but by the sign they are in a sextile, Saturn in Pisces and Uranus in Taurus. So they are supporting each other. They're supporting this process of letting go of this rigidity and this fixed idea and fixed definition of what we think things are and how we think things should be and who we think we should be, right? And that's why I feel that today Mars making a sextile to Uranus is like poking all this again. Once again, Mars is like being this big poker, being in a sign of Cancer, especially because it's poking us where it hurts, where we can feel it, because Cancer is very emotional. It's a very yin energy, very receptive energy, and it's literally like poking us in all these places where we can feel it, where it's like, oh, this doesn't feel comfortable. But I feel that the whole intention of this process is to really crack us open so we can start this journey, this process of changing this, in many cases, prisons that we created for ourselves, whether it's material prison, like our circumstances, or in our mind. And that's again, Mercury currently going in retrograde is reevaluating, rethinking, redoing, everything internal. And also at the same time, Jupiter is still in a sign of Aries, which is this opportunity for a thinking, looking at things from a different perspective, seeing things from a different point of view. So that's why I feel that this everything, as always, everything that's above is reflecting what's below, or above, below is all the same thing. It's reflecting the same thing. And I know that currently we have a lot of instability going on in the world and in many people's personal lives as well, because there is so much we don't know, and so much that we cannot be sure of anymore, which perhaps in the past was like a sure thing, right? And that's why I feel that with this, all these interactions between the planets and Uranus being involved, Pluto, the big transformator who wants to for things to die and be rebirthed stronger than ever, and already this mutable energy being present, Venus being in Gemini, being the ruler currently of Sun and also of Mercury, being in the sign of Taurus. It's giving us this opportunity for being a little bit less attached to the final result. Like, yes, of course, absolutely, we all have desires and dreams and hopes and wishes, that's all these Neptunes, dreams and wishes, also Jupiter, and our desires, Pluto, the desire for the incarnation. We all came here with the desire, like the soul had to have a desire to incarnate, otherwise we wouldn't be here. Well, at least that's my belief, and also that's why I decided to follow evolutionary astrology, because it's centered around Pluto and the soul's desire for the incarnation. And then once we hear, these desires, they are continuous. We never will get to the point where we don't desire anything anymore. There will not be such a point in our life. Like there might be like, like I'm comfortable right now or whatever, I achieved this next thing that I wanted to achieve. But then, a few days later, maybe a few months later, you again will become kind of unsettled, like, okay, what's the next thing? There's more. And especially the world we live in, there is always more. We are bombarded with all these informations and all these choices, and we have access to everything at the, click of the finger on our phone. And that makes us also overwhelmed. That's why it's so important to learn the skill of discernment, like what is actually important, and also to have this understanding that we will never free ourselves of desire while we're in this physical body in the three-dimensional reality. But like Buddha says that that like the pain is inevitable but suffering is optional, because life is a cycle, right? It's full of a lot of little cycles, and sometimes we up, sometimes we down, nothing is ever forever. But the way how we perceive the situation and how attached we get to this particular thing, to this particular outcome, and how it's supposed to look and how we're supposed to get to that point, that is what's causing suffering. Because the more rigidly we hold on to it, the more we are inflexible in regards to that it could be done or seen in a different way, then the harder it is. And that's why we have this long transit of Uranus since 2018 until 2026, give or take. We have Uranus going through the sign of Taurus to shake things up for us, like, hey, don't hold on so tight. Like, it's important to understand what is important to you, absolutely, your values, needs, absolutely. But it's important to not hold on to it too tightly, not kill it by our grip, because there is this need for constant readjustments, just like this moon in Virgo is telling us. We always learn new information, and based on what we learn, we adjust what we already know. And this is what helps us to grow. This is also what helps us to heal, because when suddenly information comes that helps us to see the past experiences from a different angle and point of view, it in many cases creates a healing process, an opportunity for healing, to have a deeper understanding. Also, evolutionary astrology offers that, from my point of view anyway, from my belief, that when we see that there is a reason, that there is a purpose, and nothing is by coincidence or by accident, and the soul chose it, it validates the whole experience, and it gives us an opportunity for self-empowerment, rather than to feel as a victim of life circumstances or something like that. So that's why I feel that today's transit, in between the Chiron square, and now we are just about to have the Pluto, station retrograde, and on the same day, this will be on Monday, we'll have the Sun conjuncting Mercury in retrograde, and and the story continues. As we know, the story always goes on, and then we'll be getting ready for the lunar eclipse, but that's for another conversation. But what I really wanted to share today, because as of from the morning, the videos that I came across and the information that I have been tapping into, and also what the people I follow are sharing, which just confirmed what I've been feeling, is this need for flexibility and fluidity, and to be tuned into yourself, because things are always changing. They're always changing. Nothing ever stays the same for long. So having these desires and these ideas about how things should be and what we want and exactly how we want to get it, it's not really healthy, which is why Uranus is in Taurus, because it's bringing these unexpected twists and turns and makes us to adjust. Like it's kind of like keeps us on our toes. Since 2018, we all been on our toes all the time, because it's like, the next thing, these next unexpected things that suddenly shifts everything like out of nowhere. And then, then it's a little bit of a quiet, and we adjust and we go, okay, the worst is over. And then other things happen. And, this process of Uranus being in a sign of Taurus is literally making us to rely on ourselves only, because everything that's external, it's becoming unreliable. It's becoming unstable. And like I said, now, Saturn, the structure and the system being in Pisces, there is no stability anymore. So what are all these planets helping us to understand is this need to trust yourself, to have this emotional self-reliance, material self-reliance, and to believe that you have everything that you need at every moment to create everything that you need. To recreate your life, to start all over again, to not be afraid to start all over again. Just like this Chiron in Aries has been telling us, that don't be afraid to start a new cycle. Don't get stuck in the past. It's okay. It's okay to start afresh, just fresh page, and make a different choices under the same circumstances, or suddenly with this new knowledge and this adjustment that you've created in your life, look at things from a different point of view. And not to be too rigid, not to be too attached. Like Uranus in Taurus is not going to allow us to stay rigid. No way. Like it's got another few years of the transit. And by the time it's done with it and it moves into the sign of Gemini, which is again flexibility, mutability, right? Where it's going to remain for another, 8 years or something. So this is preparing us for this process. It's breaking our rigidity and stubbornness, and it's preparing us for these upcoming times where we will have to be more flexible, more fluid, more, in a tune with what's happening right now. And that's actually the most important thing, to learn to be present, to learn to be right here, right now, even because the time doesn't really exist. And now, I don't know about you guys, but now more than ever, especially since Saturn moved into the sign of Pisces, the time just dissolves. It literally dissolves. Saturn rules Chronos. Saturn rules the human made time. What we created, all the calendars and watches and everything. That's all Saturn, right? And Saturn at the moment is in a sign of Pisces. Pisces is the complete opposite. There is no structure. There is no, fixed time. But Pisces transcends, right? Pisces and Neptune, they transcend everything that is a form. So they go way beyond everything that we understand as fixed in this reality, in this three-dimensional reality. So since Saturn has been in the sign of Pisces, I personally, in my experience, the time is just disappearing. I don't know where all these days and weeks are going. I mean, we are almost 1/3 of the year gone, right? We are just about to enter May on Monday in 2 days, and that's it. First 4 months of the year will be gone, 1/3 gone. And where has it gone? Where has it gone? Where has it been? So that's why it is very important to actually, because that we cannot do anything about what's going on internally. So it's just this process of readjustment, just like this moon currently going through Virgo today for the next 2.5 days. Moon is in Virgo every month. Moon goes through the entire zodiac every month, so it's just highlighting different areas of our life and how these different areas communicate with everything else that's going on at the time. But right today, Mars, that is ruled by Moon, which is in Virgo, it's sextile in Uranus, and Uranus is this big awakener, is this one that shakes our foundation, that is telling us don't get too rigid, don't get too stuck, don't get too attached to this one thing that you think is the right thing, or this one way, or this one perception, this one truth, because Jupiter is already in Aries. Jupiter is telling you, no, there is this opportunity for looking at the world completely differently through these fresh new eyes, which will support this process of healing, this Chiron healing, that reality is not what you think it is. It could be anything. It could be anything and everything. You decide. You are the creator. And that's why I feel that this is actually a very interesting moment with this, sextile, Mars sextile in Uranus, which to me, it really is preparing us for this lunar eclipse, which is happening in Scorpio next week on the 5th, 5-5, the portal. But that's for another conversation. I don't want to make this video any longer. But I just really, really felt the need to share, because, as I said, this information I've been coming across and which been coming up for me is this huge need for fluidity and flexibility in our lives. Because I think the more things are becoming uncertain and unreliable out there, the more people are trying to cling to the known. The more everything else is falling apart, the more they're trying to cling to these old things that are very likely dysfunctional, but is the known. And the more they try to cling on to it, the more they're actually making it harder for themselves, because they not enabling the evolution to just go ahead. And that's what's happening, because once Pluto moves to Aquarius fully next year, the whole process will start, and it will be just ongoing. It will be ongoing, and it will not it will not take care of how do we feel about it. It will just proceed, because the ultimate goal of that is this liberation, is to break us free from all these restrictions of the current society, of everything that is outdated, of the things that are outdated. Again, Saturn in Pisces, what has become outdated in your life, what has no longer what does no longer carry meaning. With this Neptune, it's been dissolving everything, slowly, since it's been in the sign of Pisces, and it will be there for another couple of years, 3 years. So anyway, guys, this is what I've got. So hold on. So acknowledge what is important to you, recognize what it is for you, what are your needs, values, desires, but remain flexible, because nothing has to be how it seems. And we don't know what we don't know. We only know what we know, and that which we know is very likely not working anymore. So why not open ourselves up to that which we don't know, and then just be surprised. And then we can always adjust with the Virgo. We learn and we adjust, and then we just carry on. But I feel that this is very important concept to take into to consideration right now, because of everything that's going on in the world, and all this instability, and this need for retrospection is also important. This need for flexibility and fluidity, and openness to readjustment if needed in our everyday life. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I don't know whether this made much sense. I just felt inspired to share. And I'll speak to you soon, guys, about the lunar eclipse in Scorpio coming up next week. Much love and have a great weekend. Bye.